welcome to our episode of Super Reaction Bros. I'm Kristen.
I'm Christopher.
And on today's episode, we're taking a look at a new Watchmojo video, which we have not done in a while.
A new top 10 pretty much we haven't done, since we haven't done them in a while, so...
We normally don't do Watchmojo videos, I mean, a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because, like, we always get jam-packed if everything comes out during a week, and B, they're mostly Watchmojo is just known for their top 10. So it's like, it's usually a go-to for, like, you know, good reactions here and there.
Yeah, of course.
Good discussions. So on today's episode, we're taking a look at the Watchmojo's top 10 first video games of great franchises that didn't age well.
Yeah.
Now, what they mean is currently amazing franchises that have that the first title of the games of the series don't actually hold up to nowadays standards.
So yeah, to nowadays standards pretty much.
And there's quite a few.
Resident Evil is one of them. You disagree?
That one's memorable just because of the voice acting. The gameplay wise, it's pretty much. It's not like it's fairly standard to what Resident Evil was before 4 came in.
Okay.
I would, if you think that, that's fine. I would understand why you would say that. But then I think of Resident Evil 2, which I can still go back and probably play and enjoy it regardless. Yeah. The first Tomb Raider's definitely
well, that's definitely
Yakuza of that. Can you think of anything else? Because I can't.
The way it started off and then it
first like that now. Doom, yeah. Wolfenstein.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Wolfenstein didn't age well, and remember that was one of the first ever first-person shooter games.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein didn't age well, and that's a great thanks to what was it, Machine Games and Bethesda. That's turned into a great series now, and because it's been up and down throughout the entire.
Oh yeah,
its entire run. Wolfenstein's a good one. First Tekken.
Yeah, that one.
First Tekken does not. The very first Tekken game did not age well at all. It's a lot of horse shit. Really difficult and fluctuating AI. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other games. There are a lot that
there's a lot out there pretty much that that have pretty much you look at them when they first started and you're like, wow, that was a rough start in the beginning, but compared to where you look at now. But let's just dive right into this to see what they thought were the top 10 pretty much. Again, this is for the top 10 first video games of great franchises that didn't age well. So here we go.
As time marches on, you might find some beloved games don't hold up as well as you might remember. Welcome to Watchmojo.com, and today we're taking a look at the top 10 first video games of great franchises that didn't age well.
How wonderfully bad it is.
Can you go? I'm going with you. Chris is our old partner,
Okay, before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Hey, I say that,
We're looking at the introductory games in franchises that are undeniably important, but either pale in comparison to what the series later became, or have become dated to a certain point. We're not saying that these games are bad, obviously, but the greatness that they later produced just renders them kind of inferior.
I was surprised when somebody showed me that. Yeah, it's like, that's the first Duke Nukem. I'm like, really?
Number 10, Crash Bandicoot.
I guess control-wise.
Maybe control-wise,
people prefer the NC Trilogy version.
The PlayStation 1 gave us this marsupial-led platformer from Naughty Dog. Hitting around the same time as Super Mario 64, Crash gave PS1 gamers a fun 3D adventure to call their own, becoming a huge success and spawning a franchise. But following the release of its sequels, Cortex Strikes Back and Warped, the original Crash suddenly became a relic of the console's awkward early life. Despite admittedly advanced graphics for the time, the gameplay was considered to be nothing special compared to the other games in the genre. Add to that the fact that the game was released before the advent of the DualShock controller, and that means that this platformer had to be controlled without analog sticks, so you can see why it wouldn't hold up to modern standards. Thankfully, you can enjoy this classic with updated controls and graphics in the Insane trilogy, so it's not all bad.
Honestly, some people I heard still prefer the original controls.
Yeah, I heard
Number
that
9,
too.
Dragon Age Origins.
Ooh, did you ever play that?
That has pretty much changed a lot.
Despite only having 3 main installments, BioWare's fantasy RPG series has gone through significant ups and downs in its short lifespan. The first game, 2009's Origins, was widely praised for its story, gameplay, and customizability. But when its sequel came out in 2011, that was criticized for removing what made the original so unique and loved, like the size of the world and the complexity of the systems. But upon Inquisition's release in 2014, the series was once again in the top tier of the RPG world, despite some complaints. But because Inquisition was such a departure from many of the mechanics of the first two games, Origins is now seen as the more traditional, formulaic game of the trilogy. It still has the BioWare pedigree, but has been significantly outmatched by its successor.
I will give one to you, if you agree.
Number 8, Tomb Raider.
Yeah. Can't deny that.
The importance of Lara Croft and her games can't be overstated. Not only did Tomb Raider introduce gamers to an unprecedentedly popular and strong female protagonist, but it also provided an expansive and cinematic gaming experience. But despite its mighty reputation, we doubt there are many people who go back and play the first game on a regular basis. The once revolutionary 3D graphics are now quite the eyesore, and similar to Crash Bandicoot, the inability to play using analog sticks is a...
Okay, what's with your beef and fucking analog sticks?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just that feels like a gripe from the writers.
I know, that's what it feels like.
Anniversary, but just play the new ones anyway.
Okay, that scene, that part.
Number 7, Star Fox.
I guess visually.
Visually, I guess, yeah.
Well, plus this was like
Despite being a
SNES.
primarily
At the
2D
time.
system, the Super Nintendo managed to jumpstart the 3D era of consoles through a number of innovations, namely the Super FX chip. The first game to introduce this tech was this space shooter from Nintendo, which featured Fox McCloud and his squadron fighting polygonal enemy ships in their own polygonal R-Wings. Despite demonstrating unprecedented graphical fidelity at the time, Star Fox really didn't hold up to modern graphic standards because, well, the entire world is made up of blocks. The franchise really began to shine when it entered the world of full 3D with the release of the beloved
and it
Star
could
Fox
never get another
ensuring
story
that everyone
except
could
for like
experience the joy and
adventures,
frantic space
assault.
for themselves.
Nope, we just kept on remaking the original story of 64.
Number 6, Duke Nukem.
Oh fuck
Oh,
yeah. They spoil a lot of these.
Today, he may best be known for having the most painful delay in video game history, but Duke was once one of the premier badasses of the gaming world, as seen primarily in Duke Nukem 3D, the game that really put him on the map. But before Duke made the jump to 3D, he got his surprisingly humble start as a side-scroller for DOS. Drawing more from games like Commander Keen than Doom or Wolfenstein, it contains little of the personality or innovation that would come to define the series,
big time.
even though it was a serviceable game. Still, it's amusing to watch a pixelated, pint-sized Duke take on aliens with a permanent...
Oh, and also a downside because of them analog controls.
Yeah. Number 5, Metroid.
I would disagree.
Again, this list is just something I...
In an era where games were mostly linear experiences, the first Metroid flipped that on its head, featuring a huge, explorable world with secrets and Easter eggs. And probably the biggest surprise in gaming history, a female protagonist. Metroid's influence was massive, but it was the groundbreaking Super Metroid that took the gaming world by storm. Unfortunately, that meant that the original kinda suffered in comparison. Going back now, Samus's first journey on Zebes is incredibly confusing without either having a map or save point.
As far as I know,
Instead, relying on a password system. Not to mention that it's hard to feel like you're in danger when you're fighting far less intimidating versions of Kraid and Ridley. Luckily, Nintendo gave the original a well-deserved update in 2004 with Metroid Zero Mission for the GBA.
Yeah, but still people actually enjoy playing the original.
Number 4, Resident Evil.
Now that is debatable.
That's still
It might be handy.
Because it's still enjoyable to play just listen to the bad voice acting.
Exactly.
I feel an endless debt of gratitude to Capcom's original Fright Fest for popularizing the survival
And honestly, it
genre.
still terrifies
However,
me to
the
this
scare
day.
factor seemed to extend to aspects beyond the gameplay. While kind of standard for the genre at the time because they were making up the genre, Resident Evil's tank controls managed to scare off a lot of players. Not to mention the game's cringe-inducing dialogue, soap opera-style music, and cheesy FMV cutscenes, which all really weren't appropriate for the tone that the game was trying to strike. Despite these minor issues, Resident Evil's influence was so huge that Capcom remade the game from the ground up in 2002, upping the horror and removing the unintentional comedy, in what many consider to be one of the best video game remakes of all time.
That's
so,
true,
if
I
you want to
agree.
play Resident Evil games from
okay.
the beginning, just jump right into the remake.
We can search for him separately. I'll investigate the dining room again.
Number 3, The Elder Scrolls Arena.
That's true.
Yeah, that
Elder Scrolls has gone through a lot, so looking at the original, you can go.
Masterpieces like Skyrim, Oblivion, and Skyrim in the series, it's kind of hard to remember that the Elder Scrolls games came from very
Look where
humble
Skyrim's
origins.
at now with
The
this.
first installment, Arena, set the stage for the franchise's future, sure, introducing the land of Tamriel and its trademark first-person RPG gameplay. But, as influential as it may be, is it actually any good? Well, let's just say that the later Elder Scrolls games, even the second one, Daggerfall, basically rendered Arena obsolete. After all, who wants to go back to punishingly difficult 2.5D gameplay when you can fight dragons in breathtaking HD?
And it feels like I feel like people are, their writers are griping at like
Number 2,
old school
Grand
stuff.
Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that.
Who are we kidding? Look where Rockstar is now. Curses doesn't look great.
It's said that
Doesn't
big
age
things
great.
come from small beginnings, and there were probably few beginnings as small and unassuming
Yeah, look,
as the
South Park,
original
Southeast
GTA.
Park.
Released in 1997 for PCs and the PS1, Grand Theft Auto let players commit crimes and vehicular violence from a top-down 2D perspective, in what would now be referred to as an open world. The game was praised for its sense of freedom, but it never really made a huge splash. Fast forward to 2001, and the original GTA was made completely irrelevant with the release of GTA 3, which took the open-world concept of the original, made it three-dimensional, and significantly pumped up the violence and controversial content. It caused both an outcry and a gaming revolution, despite its very humble beginnings.
I remember that too.
Number 1, Street Fighter.
Yes.
Yeah. That one makes sense for number 1.
Because you can only play one
When you were
character.
growing up, if
A
you looked
red-haired
at 2
Ryu.
in the title of Street Fighter 2, you wouldn't have any idea the original Street Fighter even existed, eh? Street Fighter 2 and its seemingly endless updates may have revolutionized the fighting genre, but the series got its start in 1987 when the original was released for arcades. It pioneered techniques that future fighting games couldn't survive without, such as the button layout and special moves. But it lacked in other important areas, namely with its
Have you ever seen the
sluggish
controls
and
for the
lack of
arcade
character
version of this
diversity.
game?
Ironically, Capcom
Damn,
felt the need
I
to
couldn't
revisit
play
and
that. It
update
hurt my
this version
hands
of the game,
playing it.
despite giving it sequels an almost comical level of remakes and polish. Now you know why. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips
Half
from
of them.
Watchmojo.
Okay,
and
no, here's
subscribe
what
for
problem
new
I have is them bitching about analog. I'm like, you know what? You know, talk to the Nintendo guys. They'll tell you,
Yeah, that's all they'll say.
They'll tell you about analog. Metroid isn't really forgotten. The original Metroid isn't really forgotten. Hell, there's speedruns of it. Some people still enjoy playing the original.
The original. The
Yeah,
OG,
there's Zero Mission, but that's that's great. That's a good remake. But the original's still good. Resident Evil, like, okay, you don't play like the gameplay wise. I think it still mostly holds up. There's a couple things here and there, but I think it still mostly holds. It still mostly holds up. But you mainly just play it for the enjoyably bad, like.
Oh yeah, of course, and that's why I said. That's why I agreed and disagreed with a lot of the stuff, and like I said, that was some of the main issues.
I love the Elder Scrolls one because at first I'm like, okay, yeah, and then they joke about, 2.5D. Who wants to play? I was like, really,
yeah, exactly.
really. It's like, you really don't.
You can tell there's a lot of gripe with this top 10 pretty much because it's like. Half of this, you look on comments and you pretty much people are probably going to complain, going, "Really, dude?" Mm-hmm. So it's like whoever wrote this, you can tell like you said, they weren't fond of the whole, the controllers and stuff like that, and in certain games. So again, like you said, half of this stuff I disagreed with. So
yeah, for the most part, their list is good, but like it's a lot of stuff where you go. Feels like there's like nitpicky stuff they had in there throughout their list overall.
Very nitpicky, pretty much. Not just honest. No, it's just it was like very nitpicky with this list. That's how they were. So yeah.
Yeah, that's all we got. So other than that, if you're new to the channel, you can hit the like button if you want to talk some more about stuff like this. Comment down below if you want to share us around, share it around, and if you like it just a little bit more than anybody else when it comes to talking about countdowns like this, hit the subscribe button down below and hit that bell icon as well.
Let us know what you guys thought of this list. Did you agree with it pretty much with all of it? Or if you didn't, pretty much, what problems you had with it? Or what games would you add to the list that maybe they didn't mention or we didn't bring up? Let us know in the comments below. Or like I said, if you agree with us with with them griping about certain things. Again, we'd like to hear your guys' comments. Put down what you thought of our reaction. Oh, hey guys, thanks for watching.
If you want to check out our previous reactions,
as well as our other shows,
click the playlist down below.
And if you want to check us out in the social universe,
you can check us out on Twitter,
as well as Stardust,
@SuperReactBros.